77 Parkway was originally a piano warehouse factory, and several decades ago, some of my former partners converted the office into an architectural office. And in those days, partners had offices and we had drawing boards, and it was a very different kind of arrangement in terms of how you operated an office here. And then more recently, during the sort of unusual times that we've had in the last couple of years, we've been able to really look hard at our activities, how we use space, and how people come into our office as well. So clients, consultants often work very closely, and the architectural team and the design leads, we're still pretty critical to that process. So we found that there's a lot of people want to come and work with us in the office. So we re-imaged and remodelled some of the kitted parts in the office. So we felt it wasn't just desks and meeting rooms. There weren't just two activities you did in an office. It's a cultural centre in a way. So somewhere you come in and you meet, you film, you have big meetings, but you also have collaborative meetings. We have tradespeople come in and talk to us. We have clients come in and work for half a day while they're here. There's all sorts of different people come and use the building. So the wonderful thing about the framework of the old factory is that it was very straightforward to keep the bones of the building and then repurpose it in several iterations. And the latest iteration has been very much about making a more intelligent building that can respond to a more sort of fluid population, a more digital population, and a more agile population, whether we have to suddenly work at home or come in and work safely over the last few years. So we were able to operate the office in a COVID-safe way, lots of staircases, which helped. But we were able to really use it well, and it was such an asset during that time because people felt good about coming back into the office. But it made us think quite hard about what we wanted as we progressed. And I know many of our clients are concerned about bringing people back into the office. What's the office all about? Well, the first thing we did was to really take the desks out of the ground floor and make it much more purposeful in terms of agile working. We have a maker space where we display materials and models, and people can go and use a big digital screen. But equally, when you've got, and we found this particularly over the last couple of years, 1,000 materials, you want to lay them out for a client. Instead of trying to do that in a small room, we were able to use that space right next to our model shop to bring all the materials out and explore those. So I think we've thought a lot harder about the activities we do, and then making sure the office is purposed for some of those activities. And it also means you can bring in visitors and clients, and they can make the ground floor their home. And many of our clients we've worked for many years, so they really do like coming into the reception area and the hub, and doing a couple of hours work before or after a meeting and feeling at home. And I think that convergence of how you work with people is a very significant trend, and the office now supports that so much better than it did even before COVID.
And have you always worked with clients by bringing them here and working collaboratively, or is that something which has grown since COVID?
It's grown. It's grown, and I mean we've always had probably 80% of our work comes from repeat work and working with long-standing clients. So there's always that relationship that's fundamental. I joke with some of our clients that we see they come to our office more than they do their own. But because it's such an attractive place to be, a warehouse, a studio, a making place, I think that makes it very appealing to a lot of our clients. And the more they feel comfortable coming here. So we did win a couple of projects actually where we were during the pandemic and working through the briefing and working through the initial design period remotely was quite challenging. It was very possible, but it was quite challenging. But the moment people came into the environment here, into Parkway, and we had the finishes and materials around us with the visuals and the team, the sense of relief and relationship building and trust and fun. The process is fun, not a challenge when you're face to face with people with the product really that you're making stuff. And Parkway has an awful lot of benefit for that because people feel good here. So it's just been great to repurpose so that we are more inviting and welcoming to not just people who come here day to day.
So Sarah, has it made people want to come back into the office more, do you think, with the design like this than maybe they would have done if it all stayed the same?
I think so, yes. Just because it gives you so much more flexibility to decide where you want to work as well. So you could work at your desk or on a touchdown table or in a booth. So there's so many more spaces for that collaboration, that team building, to be able to work and have the choice to come in and work in all of those different spaces.
And we have 180 desks, formal desks. And we still do, I mean, obviously with Revit being quite complex, sophisticated, there's quite a lot of the teams want to be working at a traditional desk with 2 screens. But the difference now is they work with a laptop, so they can work there, but they could work downstairs if they chose, they could work at home or at a client's office. We've invested in the technology to be able to support that. But today, Monday, is actually a really busy day, so all the desks are booked in the office. So we keep an eye on the occupancy through an app, and something we do very much with our clients. You know, monitoring that occupancy is as important as actually creating the nice, useful spaces for people. So Monday is a very busy day. So I saw our teams walking around trying to find, the right position, but we still have core areas for different teams. But when they aren't sitting at a formal desk, they might sit around a table. And this is probably one of the more formal areas we have. But particularly on the ground floor there's a couple of teams you can probably see having different meetings, but also working together. And I think one of the key draws we felt when we were bringing people back to the office after the last couple of years was, to really bring people together and re-cement the culture. What is Sheppard Robson all about? It's about people. And so bringing people together, we so missed each other, and it was very important to have places not just to work as an individual, but to work collectively, whether it was bringing lots of samples out and bringing your clients in, or there's always numerous meetings happening between the design teams because you absolutely are a team working on a complex project. So I think the remoteness, whilst Teams was brilliant in many ways, kept the world going digitally, but it was nothing beat the physical connectivity. And then we needed more spaces to have people to get together, not just work at desks.
And do you stipulate how many days you have to be in the office, or is it left up to everybody what they do?
It's quite flexible, yeah. Normally when you're working in a team as well, then that's normally discussed between the team what days you kind of want to come in together to use that time to collaborate face to face. But there is a bit of a mix. Some people spread their time coming into the office over the full week, or do it more top heavy at the early end of the week. So it is quite flexible, and there is a mix.
But we encourage that 3 days a week is important for people to come in 3 days a week. But we've done it through giving people the choice to manage their time. So we would be, if people didn't come in at all during the week, we'd be worrying about them, because also we've got a duty of care to the teams. But generally people want to come in. So we were quite keen to make sure that it was, we used choice as much as through EDIT. And so sometimes we've had to kind of make it clear what we think is appropriate for the teams. But majority of the time we trust the teams to manage their time, with the base still being the office as the environment they come to for at least 2 or 3 days a week. I think what has been interesting when we assess and compare to some of our clients, we're actually finding that occupancies are starting to match quite a few organisations. So there's a tendency to think that before COVID we had 100% occupancy. Well, we never did. We know we didn't do that. The more we, as part of our process, we gather data of in terms of utilisation before and during and after COVID, we've actually found that the gap between what people were doing pre-COVID and now is narrowing significantly. It's more like 10%, sometimes 20% in some organisations in terms of differential. And we're probably slightly under on some days, but actually a lot of the time we've got over 180 people in the office. So it's quite interesting that I think probably our perception of what we were doing pre-pandemic has changed as well. We thought we were 100% based in the office, whereas out on site, going to client meetings, holidays, sickness. By the time you factor all those elements in, we used to be about 70% occupied at peak, and actually there are times we're pretty much that now. So I think that it's less of a differential than you might think.
So stories about the death of the office are fake news, are they?
I think so, but I think I think it has to be managed right and well. And I think for our type of organisation, to be frank, we pretty much love working together as teams. So the culture, you don't come into architecture for great big financial reasons potentially. It really is. You tend to love what you do. You have a passion for what you do. You have a sense of purpose, and so being together helps you manifest that. And it's such a collaborative, team-orientated profession that you miss it when you're not together. So we definitely need the office. However, we're quite lucky that we've got a lovely warehouse that doesn't feel too cold and corporate. It's very human. It's very, we've got contemporary mixed in with the traditional, brickwork and the warehouse feel. So actually, it's a great place to come to. Feels right for us. I think what there probably is the death of the sort of the bland office with grey filing cabinets and white ceilings and 500 people in a space all packed in with serried rows of desks. That Taylorism approach to the world, the idea of efficiency only, and also managerial and clerical approach. I think that is pretty hard to make a case for anymore. And so anywhere that is desk-based only, it is not necessarily going to be as occupied as, say, an environment that's got a variety of kit parts and feels more human.
But you say you're seeing your clients going back to levels that were equivalent to pre-COVID, and
we're finding some of them are. There is a reduction, I think, in space potentially, but they're doing different things when they come in. So if you took the whole week, you might find that the figures are significantly lower. But when you take peaks within the office, there are, and actually probably the recalculation of what that space take is, we're finding they're needing the office a lot more. And the figures are starting to move closer together.
So how do you see the office market as far as your work's concerned, as the sorts of jobs you're going to be getting over the next few years in the light of that?
I think they must be. I think it's much more thoughtful, mindful. There's a lot more business case related to how much space you take. So it's quite a challenge for some of our clients choosing space now, looking into the future, going how much space. So we are spending a lot of time doing the workplace consultancy side of what we do. We're working on a project, Sarah's working on a project that's we've probably been nearly a year working up the proposal for stay or go, refurbishing an office, how much space do I need, how do I work. That front-end briefing business case bit, the negotiating space element, that's becoming a lot more complex. But then when people move back into the space, there is a degree of reduction, but it's actually repurposing and working harder, making that space work an awful lot harder for them is really important. So I think it's all about repurposing the office. So it does have a degree of a buzz to it, as well as that extra level of, we're all broadcasters now, so needing to make sure that, your acoustics, your lighting, your variety of guitar parts for all the team is, there are enough of those different types of spaces so people can choose to do the different things they do during the day.